Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Psychic Engineer podcast. I'm so excited to have such a special guest who has literally taken my entire business to a whole another level. So I'm so excited for this interview, and you're going to gain so much from this episode because it's going to be all about how to have your next level brand. This is from an idea to identity, and how branding helps you step into your next level, because it did for me. And I'm so happy to welcome Kaitlyn, who is my brand designer, who has done an incredible job, basically turning my messy Instagram into a chic, sophisticated, a brand that people actually recognize. And I've had quite a few compliments on them. So if you're someone who's building your brand, this is going to be amazing episode for you. So grab your cup of tea, get ready. If you're listening to on your way to work, you're going to gain so much. So start paying attention right now. So Kaitlyn, welcome.
Hi. And you are way too nice, just saying, because it wasn't just me doing all the work. I'm not joking when I say that Avi came to me with the clearest brand story I think I've ever had, and it was absolutely beautiful. I remember reading your questionnaire and being in absolute tears when I was reading your founder story and your vision and your mission. I was like, "Oh my goodness, this girl is so aligned with what she wants to do." And it was absolutely beautiful to read. So thank you for that. And also, it's been quite a few months now. It's been a number of months. So you went all summer with it. And I mean, have you seen a lot of growth and a lot of, not even just growth, but a lot more solidity in your brand since you've had it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the one thing that I have found, with because you did the brand audit, but on top of that, you
Mhm.
also did the brand design. Is that
Yeah.
you've got three levels, like, right, in your
Yeah.
uh in your offerings.
Hmm.
Um and so you looked at the brand, and you kind of then offered suggestions, kind of like the brand strategy, what to do, what colors you went through. We'll go through this in a bit more detail,
Yep.
but you gave all of those suggestions. And I just remember, like, once I first when I saw the brand design, I was kind of like, I love this. It's like, it felt like what I had in my mind, but someone just translating it into a 3D reality.
Oh, I love that. And the fact
um
that we connected on such a personal level also made it really easy. Like, guys,
yeah.
this girl knows what she is talking about when she like knows what she wants to do. And the fact that we connected made her branding so much easier. You have no idea. So easy to go through.
Oh, it was honestly such a pleasure to work with you. And what I loved was, like, once you created the brand strategy and the
Mhm.
brand design for me, I immediately knew, okay, I think because we got on so well on a personal level, it
Mhm.
just also translated. Like, I felt like you understood my brand so well and translated it into what I wanted it to look like. But what I noticed was, it was just everywhere was cohesive once I started using the branding bits that you gave me.
Mhm.
And that was so important, because I, as I mean, I think we're both this way, and a lot of women or people listening to this podcast are also going to think that we are perfectionists. We want our work to be high standards, and we want
100%.
it to look good. If there's something that is not in the correct font, it really bothers us, like,
Mhm.
to the next level, right? So I think in that way, I would say, that really helped me, having the brand which was consistent and was really how cohesive my brand was. And I had so many compliments from different people, basically saying how professional my brand looks, and behind the scenes, I was still building all the systems which I want my business to be in such a way so that it, is already set out, and don't have to worry about all the branding bits and all the what font should I use, what images should I use, and that was already done by you,
Mhm.
Katie, and that, I think that just made my life so much easier. But I loved the fact that I was getting compliments that it didn't seem that way. Everyone thought my brand was full on set up and like my business was all set up simply based on the brand. So I've talked for long now, but I wanted to just big you up because it really did help my business so much. And in terms of compliments and just the brand visibility has just been immense.
Right.
So I'll hand over to you now to talk a bit more about kind of the bits that you did for my brand, as well as how you take your clients on that journey as well, visually or strategically.
I would love to. What gorgeous compliments. Thank you. I love hearing everything, like all the feedback that my clients are getting. Okay, so branding is the visual identity that's connected to your business. Often people associate it with logos and colors, which obviously are a huge part of it. However, they usually forget about the psychology that is behind it all because it's as if you're speaking directly to your buyers before you even sell to them. And that's really, really hard to do to people who aren't natively branders or anything in marketing or branding.
Yeah.
So, really to put it into perspective, I always tell my clients or try to tell my clients that it's as if your brand is a character in a book that you're trying to make the reader fall in love with and trust on a personal level. Because I don't know exactly what the statistic is. I want to say it's high 70s to 90% of buyers will buy from a brand purely out of trust and match and values, which is
Yeah.
crazy. It's absolutely crazy to think that that kind of connection is what drives sales. So,
Incredible.
for your brand in particular, I remember trying to connect to an audience that is really focused on energetic healing. And they're on this journey of trying to figure out who they have been and who they're becoming. And they're usually in like this big state of change. And that is so uncomfortable for them. But you were here kind of as this guide for emotional, energetic change. That's who you were portraying yourself as. And that is who you really are now. So, um, I really wanted to focus that on an energetic brand that connects you to your audience. And there are certain visuals that are easy to connect with for certain people. And I usually go with a lot of psychology behind my reasoning for doing anything in branding, as you well know. Um, Guys, she got a brand guideline that is basically a small novel because of how much depth I ended up going into. Um, and one of the biggest things I remember after doing the initial deep dive that I always go through, like the brand foundation and going through your why and who you're trying to talk to. I remember going through your marketing, not marketing, sorry, your market and competition and realizing that there was nobody in your market gap. Your market was made up of people who were focusing purely on the spiritual side of energetic healing, or they work like completely opposite and very much like an office therapist, which is fine. Like, obviously, those are two very different sides of the spectrum, but you needed to niche into the middle of those. And it was wide open, which was crazy because it's like, "Oh my gosh, she's already here. This is what she wants to do, and she has this huge white space opportunity to do this," which was
Yeah.
so, so cool. I remember emailing you or texting you and being like, "Hey, girl, I know this is where you're trying to go, and, you can because no one else is taking up the space."
I couldn't
So
believe that. When you sent me that, I was
yeah.
just like, I was amazed because I was so worried that, gosh, is it going
Mhm.
to be too out there, with the whole like kind of luxurious brand with spirituality and
Right.
often those mixing those two. I was like, is that even going to be like possible? But that vision was definitely translated, which I loved.
Good, good. Yes, it was absolutely eye-opening, and
Mm,
now having done so many brands since doing yours, it's not common. There are often markets that are so saturated that finding any gaps for my clients is really hard. But I remember finding yours and it being just so instant and so like, "Oh my gosh, she is onto something, like, she's got this." Um, which was oh, it was so nice, I'm not joking. Like, when I come back with a competitive analysis for my clients, they usually get really nervous. They're like, "Oh my goodness, I have so much competition. I didn't even think about, like, why am I doing this now?" And the fact that you had just white space opportunity to literally run with what you wanted to do was oh, it was so good. And so much fun. Like,
Yeah.
your vibe with your brand, oh my gosh, it was so much fun. So,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to the actual branding side of things if you don't mind. I went off on,
Yes,
like, a tangent
absolutely.
about the
No,
market.
definitely. Yeah. Tell us about the more visual, the strategic side
Yeah.
as well, that you
Yep.
used. Go for it.
Okay. So, after going through, obviously, all of the background and everything like that, um, the foundation of the brand is so important to make the visuals actually stand. And so all of that, I'm gonna call it the paperwork, had to be done first. That's where I knew where the psychology had to land. So for yours in particular, the biggest outcome wasn't even your logo, it wasn't your anything visual story, it was actually your signature color palette,
Mm,
which I think people can overlook, especially if somebody is just doing their branding on their own or they think that they just pick out a color that they feel is their favorite, which is often the case. Um, really, over 80% of brand recognition is from the signature color of a brand. So I
mhm.
knew that yours had to match the tone of your brand to have that level of recognition, but also to have that level of recognition with your ideal client.
Yeah.
So, for yours, I had to have a lot of emotional and authentic, energetic ties to your clients.
Mm,
And I went in a couple of directions for this that ended up really making sense in the end. So, your color palette, if you were to look at it as a whole, is made up of a lot of really warm pink, red tones that convey a lot of caring and nurturing energy and a lot of
yeah,
compassion that you needed to connect with your audience since they are in such an emotional tailspin, really. But
yeah,
also you are here to ground them. So I had to have a professional level of grounding, sophistication, and just a clean process for you, which is why I paired all of these warm pinks and reds with this
mhm,
really lovely jade color and also this really lovely cream and dark gray that really speak to the professional that you are and also ground those really kind of hectic energetic colors that can kind of overwhelm people. If you just see a brand
yeah,
that's purely pinks and reds, that's a lot. That's a lot of energy to come at you. So the
absolutely. My previous colors were sorry to interrupt. My previous colors were just to let you know, my previous colors were like pink and green. It was bright baby pink
yeah.
with like yeah, with like green. And
Mhm.
I think I just paired it up because once I was like, oh, it kind of looks cute, but actually there wasn't necessarily a deep messaging behind it right now, as Katie has just explained, how conveying those emotions and those the essence of your brand is so important. And but that's how it was beforehand, and it
Mhm.
was a bit chaotic.
It was a little chaotic. The
Mm,
tones I think that you picked were more chaotic over the color choices because if you look at your old color palette and your new color palette,
mm,
they're the same colors. It's a black and a white and a pink and a green.
yeah,
But they are toned not only for your audience, but because you yourself are the product, you are the healer, you are the face of your company. I did a color analysis on you, so they complimented you as a person as well. I tend to do that for any service providers that are the face of their company, just so they align a little bit more. They feel better in their brand. You know, when you put your face next to your logo, you don't feel completely off. So,
yeah. So just for the people listening, what exactly do you do at color analysis? Like, what is it based on?
right. So, for color analysis, I used a couple of your headshots that I was able to
Mhm.
find, and just based off of my interactions with you and how I've seen you on camera and on um, versus video and picture, whatever. I did a whole color analysis where I determined your season, which I believe you were in autumn, if I I
Yeah.
remember correctly, which means that you have lower contrast than a summer or a winter, like I'm a winter. Lower contrast between your eye color, your skin tone, and your hair color.
Mhm.
And that would mean that you would have a certain color palette that really complements you. It just makes your skin glow. It's really even. Your eyes pop. It makes you look healthy and lively. And if you were to go against that color palette, I mean, it's completely fine. People like to pick out their colors and what they wear based on their personality, completely fine. However,
Yeah.
if you were to go completely against it, it kind of drains you. It just looks
Yeah.
like you're a little pale. Your skin isn't very even, especially when you're wearing these colors that are completely off. Like for you, I think it was like neon bright colors. Just they don't complement your skin a whole lot and they don't complement your
No.
but you have oh my goodness, my girl, you have pulled that color palette that I pulled for you and have made so many beautiful like wardrobe decisions and your photos. They look so, so good. And you look radiant. I love them so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah,
Yes.
it's so true. I mean, I've been noticing my content. So
Hmm.
those of you who are listening, check out literally my first post and then check like basically from like August time to now. You'll see a massive difference. And that's when I was implementing every strategic decision making that was offered by Caitlin as a suggestion, like, try this color, try that color. And I didn't even realize, like that with my hair color, with like everything, the colors that are gonna make me pop out more and make me look more radiant
Hmm.
were actually complete opposite to what I was using before. Before I was going based on like, oh, this is cute, this is kind of cool. But actually having that consistency is not only like, yes, strategically for your brand, but also for yourself. You relieve so much as a business owner, like decision making out of your mind, and you are using that consistent sort of color palette that you're talking about.
Right. I have
Yeah.
found that when I'm working with specifically women-owned brands and they're
Mhm.
kinda getting started, they have that lower level of confidence whenever they're speaking to somebody about their business. I think it's kind of just inherently in us to not speak out for
Yeah.
something, and it's gonna leave it in our brains a little bit. So, I've found that getting started and having somebody that might be a little bit more nervous on where their business is or their branding, that
Mhm.
doing their color analysis and building the palette to fit that color analysis has helped so much. It makes
Yeah.
them feel like it's a part of them, like it solidifies it as their idea, their business. So I've done it on myself. I'm a dark winter, in case you're wondering. I'm pretty sure
I'm
Avi
jealous.
were you a true autumn? I need to look up yours. I think you were a true autumn, if I remember right. Incredibly
Uh,
jealous of your palette, but that's okay.
I loved it. I think it was warm autumn or
Warm
this.
autumn.
There's quite a few different ones, right? So
Yeah.
um, do you
There's
know?
light, there's light, there's true,
Mhm.
warm, cool, and deep. I'm deep
Right.
winter, which means I for really those of you not watching the video, I really dark hair and really fair skin, and my eyes are dark, I would say.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
that little contrast, I think, just naturally makes me just lean towards the dark winter. I
Mhm.
do know that or deep winter, I should say. So it's like jewel tones and black and pure white look the best on me. Um,
Yeah. Because I
I'm
remember it was sorry, I was I think it's really important because I was wearing so much silver jewelry
yeah.
and I remember you mentioning wear gold jewelry and I when I made that shift, I was like, gosh, I don't know, my skin color doesn't look like next to those earring as like toned down, like it definitely looked more radiant, you know?
Mhm.
So that sort of like even that little suggestion, especially when you are the voice of the brand, is so important.
It it's very odd to try to hand somebody a bunch of suggestions when it can be very personal for them.
Mm,
However, this is something that I'm now including in almost all of my brand strategies just because it does give them that level of confidence that they need to get rid of the imposter syndrome and to actually speak out for their brand. So
100%.
And I did actually find that with your brand, like, you're the first person to actually get that, and I'm glad that it resonated so well with you, and that it worked so well because I'm not joking, you look great on your socials, like, it worked so well. Um,
Yeah, thank you. No,
yeah.
this is what happens when, confidence meets a great brand strategy and a great brand design. You know, when you've done the inner work, especially for like my brand is all about coaching and helping women find their confidence and their voice. And I was that confident person before, but I just didn't know if it was showing up to other people. And it probably wasn't because my products weren't getting bought as much.
Mhm,
And when you combine that inner confidence with the outer brand, and that
mhm,
includes everything, like you mentioned, with the visuals, the kind of the images that you use, the colors and everything. It has everything to do with those things. And I think just the radiance that it brings, and I think that pulls people in initially as well to kind of see, okay, what is she saying? I want to hear more.
mhm,
Previously maybe that was toned down because I was just, I don't know, wearing just silver earrings every time, bright neon colors. And it kind of took away from the actual messaging that I was trying to
mhm,
give. Whereas having the right branding to me, it seems enhances your messaging. People listen more. That's what I've had. I've had way more. My reach on Instagram has been like immense in the last couple of months. I went from,
so
yeah, like September and I think it was start of September, I was at 106 followers, and I'm now on 620
that is
followers.
crazy. That is
It's
insane growth. That is so cool.
And it's
What
not even like it's organic growth. Like some of the people I don't know where they've followed me from. Some have been through collaborations, but still, I
yeah,
collaborated with people before and it wasn't working. So clearly there is some difference that people are now noticing, which I was doing the same strategy before in my Instagram, but now people are noticing a lot more. And I really think it is a combination of the brand, the inner work that has to
mhm,
go with it, the actual confidence, but actually also it's showing up as that, the
yeah,
marketing there. So
yeah,
yeah, it really does. Going to our next point that I want to talk about, which is how branding really amplifies your inner alignment when
mhm,
you are kind of aligned within yourself, and um, how you can actually create an income generating brand from that. So if you have any pointers on that, how can you make a brand
mhm.
such that it now feels like, right, this is the money making brand. What would you say to someone who is wanting to like really take their business to the next level? What would they do?
So, when I talk to somebody who's just getting started or they don't know what branding is and they come to me and be like, "Okay, how do I make money with this thing that I want to do?"
Yeah.
I usually start with telling them that branding will make it real, and that can be kind of scary at first when you tell someone that that idea that they've had in their brain for who knows how long, for the dream business that they just have kind of been sitting on because we've all been taught as women that we don't speak up and we just kind of leave it to ourselves. When that becomes real, it can be very scary, but it's also the change needed to get it out into the world. So, when you are trying to start a business, obviously the main point is to make money with that business and to be successful. We're not
Yeah.
all out here peddling free gifts for everybody, right? You're out here to be successful, and to be a successful woman, you need to have alignment with not only you as a person and your inner personality and your inner character, but you also need to have that character facing your client and you need to know who they are.
Yeah.
So, the key elements, if I could bullet point it, like make bullet points for somebody would be to find their demographic,
Mm,
figure out what makes them tick, what makes them buy. Um, you could not imagine the amount of psychology behind buying reasons and why somebody would buy from one brand versus another. It's
mm,
absolutely crazy to research on, but trying to find your demographic and who they are. You need to be able to speak to them as if they were best friends. You need to connect with them on a personal level. That's my number one is finding out who you're speaking to and really get to know them. Market research is huge. It's probably my number two bullet because if you are doing the same thing as the person next to you and the person after that, you're not going to stand out in a market. And that's not going to do anything. No one's going to come to you if
yeah.
they have seven other options doing the same exact thing for maybe different pricing. Who knows? But the offer needs to stand out in a market. The brand voice and messaging. So, how you speak about your product or how you speak to your client, how you speak to other business owners is
Mm,
huge. Like when I when I go to somebody, I don't say, "Hey, I got something for you," but I might give it to you for this price, and maybe for just a couple of days. Like if you could get it to me. No, I say, "Hey, I have an exclusive offer that I think would really fit your needs." It sounds so much more put together. It's so easy to understand. And it's just very quick and easy and gets to the point for them. So the brand voice is huge. And obviously, when you have a brand, it's a visual thing, right? It's a very, very visual thing. I apologize if you can hear my dogs barking in the
That's all
background.
right.
Can you hear them?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Great.
Cool.
Great.
They're agreeing. They're agreeing.
They're agreeing. They are. They're agreeing. They're very loud. Um, anyway, brands are visual. They are as if it's a human being, so you need to have some sort of visuals. So
Yeah.
connecting all of that back with a system is
mm,
huge. If I had to hear one more person say, I made this logo on Canva and I downloaded it and here are my two favorite colors, I'm done. I don't need any branding. That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy to me. It sounds so unprofessionally put together that I worry
mm.
for them. So having every little piece that you need for your visuals and not having to dig around for a logo that you might not even own the legal rights to is huge. So
Yeah.
those are my big four. Those are what you need to really make money with a brand and to have a brand that works for you because why put something into a brand? Like why put your time and energy into brands that aren't going to make you money for a business?
Yeah.
Um
Totally. I hope everyone made notes on that because those are very, very key points and very well put together on, I mean, just to add to the systems, right? Me as a coach and a business owner, I want to be able to focus on like actually helping just the clients. And I want to like, I'm so busy like kind of thinking, okay, what do my clients need? But it wasn't until I had the systems in place when yeah, and those systems you can go into that a bit as well. Like the systems were like you had all the templates and everything ready for me, which were consistent with the font, the
Yep.
logos, and everything. It was so like well detailed and such high quality that I felt like my energy could go towards actually in what I am best in, which is content creation, delivering, the content needed for my clients as well as like actually doing the sessions with the clients and I think that's such a key. Like a lot of people probably don't know about how important having those systems in place is, because because that provides you just this level of grounding
Mhm,
where you are able to do what you're actually meant to do. And yeah, so this anyone listening, it was huge change for me. It just accelerated my business in that way.
mhm,
Um, yeah, and it's true. It does. And then once your energy is freed up from all of that, you then have time to kind of focus on actually having generating your income, from the
Right.
brand because your brand is already set. Um, you mentioned about visuals and you've talked about logos and, everything, how we've talked about color palettes. Um, I remember from my brand design that you did, you also talked about messaging. How important do you think the messaging is, and how does that really add into the branding?
Oh my gosh, messaging is huge. How you speak. Ignore the fact I just stuttered there, but messaging is huge. When you are speaking to a client and you don't match the vibe of your brand, it
Mm,
disconnects them completely. It would be as if Apple were coming at you and speaking in Shakespearean or something. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, who's selling to me? It
yeah.
doesn't make sense. Having an aligned message that meets not only your audience and how you want to perceive yourself to them, but
Mm,
also matches your brand values and it pairs well with all your visuals. It just has that level of cohesiveness and that level of, oh, this is a collection of items. This isn't just a one off scenario. It just makes it easy. Like you were saying about systems, it is very much a system. Like
mm,
everything is a domino effect. And if one thing is off, it kind of just stops. And specifically, when I was going for your brand voice, I remember thinking that she has something that can be niched down to meet the level of not only professionalism that you have naturally, but also you are able to connect on a spiritual level with your clients. And how would somebody like that sound in writing or in
mm,
emails or in social? And what kind of words would they use versus what words wouldn't they use? That's a big thing too, is going into what aren't you? What isn't your brand? That often is easier for people to understand, I feel.
mm.
And and I even play this game with my husband when we're trying to figure out what to eat. It's like, okay, what don't you want? Like we can weed out the stuff that doesn't belong. It's very easy then to kind of narrow it down so you know what you do want and what you do want to say. And when we're talking about branding and trying to hone in on that brand,
Mm,
it's what words get replaced with this word. And like for instance, I use the word create a lot in my branding.
yeah.
And you say the word create, create like 7 times in one sentence. It sounds idiotic, but when you start replacing those with words that may be a little bit more elevated, like collect or refine or
Mm,
design, it adds this level of elegance and sophistication to your brand instead of me saying, oh, I finger paint or I doodle this or I
mm,
jotted this down. It's completely different words. And that
yeah.
that sounds very simple, but just the power of words and everything like that is huge for connection. I do
Yeah.
also believe that having that system of teaching people how to speak for their brand
Mm,
also leads to that confidence level that they need to drive their brand for themselves. They need to be able to breathe, speak, eat, live, feel this brand as if it were a person. So having that alignment with their brand and with the whole system and strategy is huge. It really is huge for people. They need to know how to do that. Otherwise, it all just kind of sounds like a jumbled mess. So,
yeah.
or with your branding in particular, were you able to take the voice direction that I gave you? And was that helpful or was that just kind of more confusing? Because I feel like people can either see it as really confusing, like they are going against how they naturally speak,
Mm,
or it aligns them a little bit and they have more of a direction forward. Where were you with that?
absolutely. So I felt like I was, I had kind of like this inner conflict of wanting to appear like this, like, coach person, who's going to get the results done. But then there was another side of me which was very feminine, and I wanted it to be like a soulful place. And and what I before you suggested the wording and the messaging, I remember feeling like like, how do I kind of put these two parts, which are literally masculine and your feminine way of being, right, together and convey that through how I'm speaking, how I'm showing up. And I think that even comes with like, yes, with the words as well. And what I found was really what emphasized the words and the messaging that you suggested was also the posture, the way I showed up, how I wanted to sit, what I wanted to like, what did I want it to be a more relaxed atmosphere at the time, or a bit more like, right, I'm giving these tips and
Mhm.
how can this help you? And then I think I had these like two separate, not merged versions of me that were trying to do the messages previously. And it didn't come through in a very cohesive way. It came through either just two like, right, here are the 4 steps to get you from this point A to B, or it was like complete poetry, from just, so how do you combine this? And I think the wordings that you suggest is even like, I think you made some strategic like hashtag suggestions,
Mhm.
like, hey, include energy healing into that and make it more like soulful,
Yeah.
and combining that with, how it's not really like we're not going for the boss babe, kind of
Right.
like image, but it's like a softer boss babe. How do we convey that? And I think that really did help in merging those two aspects of my brand, which
Mhm.
was this, yes, this kind of like assertive coach in a way, but of course with this, femininity, we don't want it to be like hustle and that kind of
Right.
representation. So it definitely did help, like what the suggestions that you made, the wording.
For those of you who haven't worked with me before, I make a board of icons for those who are solopreneurs. So they have a board of people, it could be anybody that they would want to run this company with. It gives them a validation of business decisions and voice and
Mm.
personality. But I remember going through yours and connecting them with what I knew of you personally. I was like, this makes so much sense. She would be best friends with these people. And I'm not going to call them out right now because I feel like that is a little bit of invasion of privacy because my board of icons is very personal to me. Like, I'm not best friends with Drew Barrymore, but I would love to be best friends with Drew Barrymore. So I have a whole, and mine's getting ridiculous. I have like 25 employees on this board of icons for my personal brand for Point Made.
Mhm.
I remember you choosing people that I could very well see you bouncing ideas off of,
Mm.
pulling different narratives off of, asking questions. And it not only aligned me to finish that branding, but I see that part of your brand strategy in so much of the way that you have used your branding. It works so
Yeah, so just to share with the audience, the board of icons was basically like Katie said, who are I think it was 5 people, was it?
I
If
think you
I,
chose 5, 4 or 5.
yeah,
Yeah.
5 people that if you were to run a company with, who would you want to do it with? And I had like these 5 people, and some like people we know, and some people, like certain celebrities that I admire. And it was almost like, how there's a saying that like, you are an average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with.
Yes.
And you know we can't always do that like in real life, and also if we are like solopreneurs or working for ourselves, we're mostly by ourselves and online majority of the time. So having this exercise was so great, not only just as a psychological exercise, but also like in yes, also in like branding perspective, because it made me feel like, okay, I want to show up as these women. I want to show up like this group of women. I want to be in that caliber. And you kind of start dressing that way, implementing how they speak, how they carry themselves. And it was such a fun and such a brilliant exercise, because it made me realize, okay, this is how they're showing up. So I was trying to show that way on my socials, in my brand. And one of the people on there was actually Amal Clooney as well. So I wanted that like sophistication, just to show the one person, right? And I wanted like that sophistication to come through. But I also had other people who I admired, like other qualities and like the fun aspect of it, or maybe admired like how they were strategically, or it's just like kind of you're becoming that average of those five people. I found that to be so valuable in the actual showing up as in my brand.
My whole goal with any brand strategy is to not only give the female founders or anybody that I end up working with the what is the word for it? The validation, I feel,
Totally.
the confidence that what they are doing will work and
Yeah.
that it will work in a way that will be successful. It will be exactly how they envisioned it, but also to give them the tools to step forward in that. Like, I'm not gonna give somebody a logo, and I say all the time, "I'm not gonna give you a logo file and wish you the best of luck, like, ta-ta for now." I always give a whole system and way more files than they probably know what to deal with,
Yeah.
but that all is to combat the initial lack of confidence that we all have as women in the workplace, the brain clutter that comes with trying to run a business, especially an online business. If you're working by yourself in your office, you go crazy. And to, as we spoke about before, to beat that imposter syndrome of, I'm not, I'm not worthy enough to do something like this. Like, what
Yeah.
makes me better than the next guy, or I can't charge this much because what value do I have? That whispering in the back of our brain every day as somebody who's probably worked for men and almost always have worked for men personally, having that in the back of your brain is horrible as a female business owner. So, giving any of my clients some sort of clarity and stability and a system forward is really what any sort of brand strategy should be about, and that's what I make mine about.
Yeah.
So, to hear that that is something that has helped bring you some alignment with you personally has been fantastic. And, I'm wondering, do you run into these women who are having that block in their brain with the imposter syndrome, the brain clutter, which I know you've helped
Mm.
me with so much, um, and just having that naturally professional hat that we put on as business owners? Like, has that resonated not only with you personally for being a business owner, but also with the clients that you're seeing? Like, are they also the ones dealing with this mental blockage?
Absolutely. Like majority of my clients have this. A lot of my clients are um also people who are wanting to start their spiritual businesses,
Mhm,
who are wanting who have this vision for their brand, their business, whether it's a healing business, coaching business. And what I've often found is that not like every single one of them has had some level of imposter syndrome.
mhm,
And that voice that has just told them that they are not good enough, or they are not that their business isn't ready to go yet. Even if they have such innate wisdom and experience, they still feel like they can't get started on something because they feel like they don't have the more experience or more, just anything more, right? And what that often more equates to is really feeling like we are good enough to actually start. And it often holds them back. So the imposter syndrome, um, it really, yeah, this feeling of like feeling like fraud. And you mentioned about like working in male dominated industries. I mean, I was an engineer, so I totally relate to that. How you feel like you have to prove yourself even more, and it's not like done intentionally. It's just more uh unconscious biases that people have towards us, and
mhm,
the preconceived kind of ideas about how we are simply by our gender. It's something we can't really do anything about. It's just how the world has been. And I think that's what has led to this imposter syndrome in a lot of women being strong, especially coming from a male dominated industry, but can be
Mhm.
anywhere. And I think this feeling of just, being a fraud is what I help a lot of my clients with because I had to go through that entire journey and work with those doubts and limiting beliefs that kept coming up
Mhm.
and literally saying, you know what? No, this doesn't define me. I get better as I keep going and taking one step after another and becoming better at what I do. So this is totally what I guide my clients with because they often tend to be high achieving women who are perfectionists, but all of those qualities, whilst, we kind of see sometimes in a bit of a negative context, I actually think if you use it in the right way and channel it in the right way, it can be high quality, high standard, beautiful business or whoever, however you want to be. And
Right.
yeah, totally. That's what I do help the women I work with.
I love that. I didn't know if it was just me because she has helped me so much. Oh my gosh. The distance Reiki was the first time I ever had that, and that was absolutely insane to me, but it worked so well, so incredibly well. Whatever block was there, it was completely gone.
Oh,
So
I'm so glad.
having that just be an option to help clean out all of the brain clutter and the emotional blockage that is preventing anybody from being successful or even just trying something new
Yeah.
was enlightening, to say the least. It was fantastic.
I'm so
So,
happy to hear that. Oh, thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for giving my Reiki a shout out and a distance Reiki at that. Yeah, but because those of you who don't know, Katy is based in Wisconsin
Yeah,
and
we're a little far apart.
yeah,
Little
and
bit
I'm
different.
based here in England. So it's yeah, it's amazing that we can still get connected and, work together.
Yeah, distance means nothing. I mean, come on. It's like we know each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh gosh, this was so, so good. I think we covered a lot, and I think people who are listening to this are going to take so much on how to take their brands and what next strategic steps they can take into building such a beautiful brand, which is kind of this alignment of confidence with all the strategic steps that you mentioned. This
Mhm.
kind of inner alignment with doing the inner work and literally building systems, building everything that you mentioned, and from color palettes to the visuals, the messaging, and everything. When you combine these two aspects together, and when they merge together, you end up with a very cohesive, beautiful brand so that you can actually work on what you're meant to and not worry about the chaotic sides of building a business and especially as a woman. And so Katie, this has been so great. Thank you so much for coming.
Mhm. I
And
love chatting with you, always, always.
I love it too. It's literally, we go off on so many tangents and we could talk for ages. But for the sake of this podcast, yeah, we're going to leave it here. But how can people find you? What's the best place to connect with you?
Yeah, so they can find me at my website if they want, pointmadestudio.com. It is under construction, so it's a little rough right now. Um, but they can always reach me on Instagram, at Kaitlyn Smith-Leis or at Point Made Studio LLC.
Mhm.
So I'm
Perfect.
all over the place. Find me however you need. But no, it's been great. Thank you so much, Abby.